Hey, all you horror sexuals out there. Uh, ah, how careless of me. I can't assume everyone is horror sexual, but they should be. Now, something you can do that is so easy, it takes almost no effort, is to hit that follow or subscribe button. Trust me, no one is getting rich or famous. We are just sitting around talking scary to each other. Kind of like Danielle Harris and Scout Taylor Compton. But we're not as pretty or funny or talented or charming or well, you get the idea. And speaking of we, my good Judy Stephanie here is with me. Yo, Steph, what's up?
Oh my God, thank you for that marvelous introduction, Joe. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't think that was that introduction. I just said my good Judy. I mean, who else would I be talking with, right?
I don't know. We always have so much fun when we're watching them, so it just makes sense. Just
Well,
makes sense.
okay, as you said, watching them, it's like, oh, what are we talking about? Ah, scary
Scary
movies.
movies. Always. Not always, but mostly.
Girl, we have watched every
Yeah.
crazy, dumbass, scary movie that you
Yeah.
can think of.
Hmm.
Well, I'm sure that there's a ton that we haven't, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
In
Hmm.
general, we watched a lot of horror.
We
We've,
have.
we've touched a lot of horror films. We really, really
Yeah, we
have.
have. Hmm.
And I did not know this until 2 weeks ago. So to all listeners, I did not know that my good Judy, that watches all these crazy, scary movies with me, loves zombie movies.
I do.
I'm shocked about this. Why did you not tell me?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess it never got brought up. I don't know, but I love a good zombie movie. Like I love zombie movies.
Well, I found it interesting that I had no clue. There are movies I like that are zombie films, like for example, The Crazies is one I really like. The
Good
Return of the
one.
Living Dead.
Good
Um,
one.
I mean, the innumerable amount of zombie movies. I like them for the most part. Do I clamor to them? Not necessarily. So I don't have anything for them, but I don't have anything against them either. But when you said that, and we were looking for a movie that night that you like zombie films, I was like, oh, well, why don't we watch Dawn of the Dead, the
Such a good one.
2004 Zach Snyder remake?
Yes. Oh, it's
And
so good.
I remember you said, is it high octane? And I was like, oh, baby. Right, it is. Because had you seen it before?
I had,
Yeah.
and in my head, I thought that I was thinking about the right one, and I was as we watched it. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I
Okay.
remember. So yes, I had seen it before, which is why I was like, yeah, let's watch this. But I just couldn't remember at the time if it was high octane or not. But
Right, because sometimes these zombie movies, it's the slow moving zombies, the
right,
ones that
sometimes
they
it can be
they
slow
drag an
burning.
ass.
Those aren't my favorite ones. Really, I prefer like I want the fast zombies. I want
Is the running a big
yeah,
deal for you?
yeah, the running, the like banding together to like come up with you know, a plan to survive
Well, they do
whatever
that in the
is
ones where
coming.
they do that in the
I
ones that are
know.
slow moving too.
I
But
know, but those zombies aren't fun. There's not what are you running from? Like it's target practice,
right.
Like you're just sitting outside. Boom, take out the next one. Boom, them
Well,
them
my
fuckers have no idea what's coming. They're
my
not
question,
even
yeah. Well, I always wondered about slow zombies. Why don't you just run around them? Because they ain't moving that
right.
fast.
If
Their
they can't get you,
coordination, their,
is lacking,
is it what?
right? And in the hierarchy of zombies, they are at the bottom, lower rung, and the fast ones are at the top. They are like
Yeah, yeah.
the yes.
Well, I think everybody's different. Some people love their slow zombies. Some people like it. I like slow zombies too. Again, zombie films. Nothing for them. Nothing against them. Um, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. That's what reads
Hmm.
on the movie poster.
Yeah.
And that sort of gets me like cranked up because I'm like, oh, that's good. Because that sounds creepy. When ain't no more room in hell, the dead's gonna roll. I don't know. That was just for me.
It
That's just a
might that might
fantastic
actually
fact.
be biblical. Like thinking about it, there could be a like a passage somewhere that kind of talk about the end of times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the televangelist says something in
Hmm.
the
Right.
news
He
report
does.
when he reads that to the is it the douchey security guard CJ, I think.
Yes.
The
Oh
one
my
that needs to do
God.
something about that
He
hairdo.
needs to do
Oh my
something.
word.
The whole mustache beard thing he's trying to do, and The hair is all over the place, and he just looks so grody, but he's such a dick.
And okay, so but to take a step back, because I got a little crazy there for a minute, is that we're not going to put up spoiler alerts because if you've
No,
not seen this movie, then you need to hashtag roll faster.
it's been 21 years.
Right.
You've had plenty of time.
So, right. I would say I wanted to just do a jump off real quick about this movie with the pacing.
Yeah.
I really love that is one thing about the movie because it starts out seemingly slow and we just kind of get introduced to this character and she goes home and she hops in bed with her hubs. They get a little freaky in the shower. Hey, hey, hey. Right? Of
Okay. It
course
was a day off.
they miss the news bulletin.
They
Uh-oh,
did.
there's dread and it's looming and the TV's trying to tell them and they're getting freaky in the shower.
Yep.
And then that's when the next morning Vivian comes in and Lewis wakes up and then
This little bitch. Yeah.
shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
Shit hits the
Um,
fan.
I think there was some foreshadowing, honestly, when she was leaving, when the main character Anna Blonchik was leaving the hospital, because it looked like there were people, like a lot of people were starting to come in who were like showing symptoms of being sick in some way or shape or form. And so when she got home, they just kind of like did their own thing, and then they missed that special report. But I bet if they had seen it, she probably would have been like, oh yeah, some crazy shit was happening, was going down when I was leaving. And maybe they would have been more prepared.
I don't think they would have been prepared for anything
No.
because, as I said, as they get up that next morning, in walks good old Vivian,
Oh my God.
right?
See, look, the way that he responded wouldn't have been the way I responded, because little child and let himself into my house. Okay, first of all, where's your mama? Where are your parents?
Right, but that's what he was saying.
Right?
He got all up in her grill. He kind of
Yeah,
got up
but
there and
he
started
got all
digging
up in
it.
her grill. Second problem, okay? Second mistake, all right, of husband, whatever his name is. Maybe Lewis.
Lewis.
Okay. Um, second mistake. That little bitch had blood on her face. Okay, she was
Mm,
dirty. Okay, she had like a snarl about her. You feel
red
me?
flag. Red
Right. There was
flag.
like
Do
red
not
flag, red flag. And he's all
Although,
like, let me get up in your face, Vivian. Like,
yeah, but what? Right, but what would give you the indication not to get up to a kid's face if there's blood on it?
the fact that her face, like all of this wasn't just blood. She was missing part of her cheek. What? Attention to detail. See, this is why little zombies won't get me. Okay, because I'm watching you. I have to watch children all dang day. So I'm watching you.
And if you're missing part of your
Right.
face, I'm not going to approach
I'm
you.
not approaching you. No, we'll chat from a distance. Are you feeling okay?
Crazy.
Let me call
That's
emergency
crazy.
services.
Well,
I'm not
so
equipped to handle this.
once Vivian and once everything basically hits the fan and Lewis gets bit and like basically we hit the gas going
Yeah.
90 miles an hour and I think it follows us all the way through to those opening credit scenes which I
Mm-hmm.
love because then at that moment we've got that big point and then we go swoop down, we meet some new characters that's going to take us up eventually to the mall. And I like the tone and how it shifts just a slight bit once we get to the mall because it sort of contains the story a little bit. We're not necessarily on the run. We're not necessarily, driving on the interstate through craziness. It's like, again, it's sort of a controlled, contained environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, that pacing just continues because then we add new characters that come in on the box truck, and that's amazing and fun. And then I just feel that we keep getting those moments of big, exciting moments, and then we get a little bit of a break from it, and then it comes back again. So if you ever watch it, and you could just kind of sense that, I just think that from the standpoint of it being a horror film, that it also sort of has an action film and has a little bit of that really fantastic up and downs that I
Even a
think
little bit of comedy, I think. There's some funny moments where they make light of the situation.
Well, yeah, I think in any horror film, they're going to give you at least something that's a little nod of comedy. Maybe not a Rob Zombie film.
Right.
Those
No.
sort of go for the jugular, and that's good. Terrifier. There, but I mean, I guess there's some comedy with that. But my thing is that it typically, they'll do something scary, and there'll be a tongue-in-cheek moment. I think it just sort of lightens sort of the intensity. It keeps
Mm-hmm.
it on a level. It keeps it on a level because it's like we have that very intense moment when they're in the mall with Andre and Luda, and
Oh
she's having
yeah.
the baby.
Oh God, yeah.
And I'm jumping forward. I'm going to be all over the place. But yeah,
Yeah.
that one,
That was
intense,
intense.
intense. But as soon as that was done, we kicked into Get Down with the Sickness, sort of that
Oh,
fun little, like, I guess, kind of jazz version, I guess I could say, of
yes.
that
It
sort
was
of,
so
yeah.
good.
So see, I just think that there was that, you have to have that balance. Otherwise, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I think that that's good to have those ups and downs. It goes
Yeah.
along with that pacing.
It helps. It helps move the movie along. It keeps you like interested and engaged because you're not just constantly on go. So you're not just like raring for it to be over either. You have those, you get to know the characters a little bit more. You get to spend some time with them. Um, and
You know,
so
the show was criticized for not developing the characters very well. At
really,
least that's something I read in a report. I would love to say my sources, but I have no clue. I just read it. Because if you read it on the internet, it's true, right?
well, I'd say
So,
that they're not watching it right.
right,
They need to watch it
right.
differently.
Yeah, but I'm just curious about how you felt about, like, as far as character development goes.
I liked it. There were the main ones who needed like development. I think they got it. You know, the side pieces, I feel like side piece by side piece, I mean like Steve and Monica, right? Like they didn't really serve much of a purpose. They just happened to be there. Um or
No, but see, Steve was sleazy, but he had the boat that
he
was going to get him away,
Yeah,
right?
he was the
So he played
creepy
a
rich
role,
yacht owner. Yeah,
right?
that was his only role. That and being a total dick
Right.
because, that was him. And then his little sex bunny Monica, like she served
Yeah.
absolutely no
Yeah, she
purpose.
just smoked cigarettes and was
She was
bitching.
there, right? She was there, she was smoking, she was there fucking, like she had no other purpose aside from being like a mouth to feed in this mega mall. Now, one thing I want to say about the mall, Joe, is like it was very reminiscent of like early, I feel like 90s, maybe 2000s mall situations, but it also gave me a strip mall feel. And here's why, because I've never been in a mall anywhere in America, and maybe I'm just missing them, where there was a hardware store and like a paint shop. Because remember, they went and picked up tools from the
Right.
hardware shop. And I'm like,
Back in the day,
man,
and when I say back in the day, I mean the 80s. And I grew up in a mall because my mother liked to go to the mall on Friday nights. And so
malls
we
were
would
fun.
always go, and they were fun. They were fun. They would cut you loose, and they were all like, every place had a store that you would hang out in, and there was paint and hardware typically in an anchor store such as Sears, but even that
Oh.
eventually I think was
Yeah,
phased
you're
out.
right. I think, yeah, because they weren't around for very
Right.
long. Because I do remember early
Well,
80s or late 80s malls for me.
well, this taking place in 2004, malls were, I think, beginning to start that decline in certain areas. Maybe that was even before. I don't know. I don't know my mall history. I just know that they ain't around much anymore. And the ones that are typically smell like pretzels and urine.
Right.
Right?
With a
So
skylight built in.
right,
It's like,
exactly.
great.
Like
We're gonna
right.
bake in it.
And then an area for kids to play in, which you're like, oh my
Right.
God, there's staph infection all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to know though, gore. Did you think that, I mean, to me, I thought this was a gory movie.
Yeah, it was. It was gory in all the right places though. Like I like there are movies out there, let's be real, that are way gorier. The gore factor is like
Okay, yeah.
10 times worse.
I'll
I
give it to you.
think there was absolute gore factor, but I think one of my favorite things, and I've said this before about zombie movies, is
Hmm.
the effects and the makeup and like just the dedication to
Oh, right.
detail,
So it's got to
right?
be
Like,
grotesque to begin with.
yeah, it's supposed to be grotesque. So I would, to me, when I think gory, I'm thinking like blood splurting and like limbs being chopped off and like, you know what I mean? Not zombies attacking, like, but tearing the shit out of somebody. But I guess same difference. Like, I would think Saw movies are more gory than zombie movies.
I would think so. I would definitely say that Saw is hardcore.
Because we talked about that. I told you there's like certain scenes in those movies where I'm like, I don't ever need to watch that ever again.
What?
Like,
What's the scene? What? Give me an example, real quick.
okay, the one in Saw where he's like suspended and like a spread eagle, and he's got like rings connected to all different parts of him, and the only way for him to get down is for him to basically like pull the rings out, and he's just like,
I don't remember which one that
oh,
is.
I don't remember which
I
one
have
it
to
was. I just
brush up
remember
on.
the scene. It was just in my head, and it's not going anywhere ever anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, just because I'm horror sexual doesn't mean that I have got the answer to everything, and that would be
No,
what I don't.
but
Because
you're
there's
almost a walking encyclopedia
well,
for scary trivia.
I try the best that I can when I can
You're
when I can.
amazing.
For me, I do feel like it's really gory and violent, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's the assignment, so I'm all
Mm-hmm.
down for it. I'm down for that. I'm okay for it. I think when I get into it, I know what I'm getting, and so I'm okay with it. I'm like, that's all right. I can roll with it. And I mean, if something gets too intense, you just don't watch. I
Right.
normally don't have that problem. Usually, when I watch a movie first time through, there ain't no wincing. I'm gonna look at it dead on
Mm-hmm.
because I want to
Mm-hmm.
be informed,
Right. I
right?
want to know what's coming.
Right. But then on my second read, or third, or fourth, or
I could be
20th, or
like,
100th, I can be like, you know what? I'm good. I've seen her rip her fingernails out before 100
right.
times. Next. Um, so I was curious, and I don't know if this is an easy question for you to answer, but what do you think is the most believable part of the entire movie?
Ooh. The fact that it even happened. It's like, is that bad? The fact that it even happened. We had COVID recently, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I mean, it to me, it just it's like, I almost want to be like, should I write this in on my 2025 bingo card? Because last year that shit went down, and I was like, I didn't have that on my bingo card. I didn't expect that to happen. And then, so like this year, I want to be prepared. So I'm going to have to start writing in zombie apocalypse.
I think the most believable part is that Steve, the creepy rich yacht owner, drank all of that creamer that they wanted.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably the most believable part for me if you were to look at the entire scope of the film. Yeah, yeah, that's about where I'm at. But now I have to ask you, what do you think is the least believable part?
The most unbelievable part for me was when dumbass Nicole, the little blonde one,
Uh-huh.
went chasing out after that damn dog Chips. Chips, Chips. Okay. When
I
she went,
was
I wouldn't believe for a fucking second that if that was happening in real life, that bitch would have made it out of that parking lot, or even out of that building, or
no.
into the next building.
Right. And you know what? At that point, I was pulling for her to get killed because
Right.
I'm like,
Right. I
baby
was like,
doll,
bitch.
baby doll, I get it. Your dad was just killed, but honey, it's the apocalypse. That
Yeah.
dog ain't
Oh,
worth it.
right. You saw yourself that things weren't bothering the damn dog. So like you could have just saved everybody. Everybody could have got out together, picked up Andy at the gun shop, and loaded up on more weapons. And guess what? Blow a dog whistle. Chips was coming. He was running behind you, get to a safe space, and then pick up the damn dog that none of the zombies are attacking. But
Right.
she wants to go all fucking commando and like,
It's Rogue, and she's like,
right. She
"There's
goes
blood
rogue.
everywhere. There's blood everywhere." Well,
Right.
well, your
Well,
dumb ass went over there.
right. Who told you to get up? You know what? The thing I feel the worst about is that Andy had to die. That's what I felt the worst about.
I didn't think that it was Andy's fault. Is it?
Oh, you mean Nicole's fault? Was he bit before she got there? That's my question.
Yes, yes, yes. He was bit, and they knew it from the walkie. And then they saw old girl freaking out when she got, well, okay,
Okay.
she
You're
gets
right.
in, and then she picks up the walkie. She's like, I don't know, this blood everywhere. Ooh.
Ugh.
And they're just like sitting there, just like, see, so he was bit beforehand, but so he didn't have to get bit.
That's
He was
right.
already bit. But
Well,
she
that's
still,
sad.
it doesn't matter because she shouldn't have been there.
She shouldn't have done it.
Right.
She should have. You could have wasted a whole getaway truck for
So,
the dog that the zombies weren't fucking with. Okay, let me.
yeah, the least believable part for me was when the sort of second wave of cast members came in on the box truck,
Hmm.
and they slam in and they got all this good stuff, and they come wheelbarrowing
Oh my
in
God.
this pasty hag who's got like gray skin and like pus everywhere,
Yes. Blech.
and and they put her in the bed, and it's like, I'm gonna help you, ma'am. And she's got like, and I'm like, with what? I'm like,
Right.
you've got a pouch with like gauze and some water. I'm like, that ain't cutting it, toots. She was just nasty, is what I'm trying to say. She was just nasty. For me, it was just like, you could tell by looking at her, things weren't good.
Right.
And I would have been like, ma'am, we are going to wheel you out to the exit of Macy's, okay? And we're
Hmm.
going to leave you with this. Here's some water right here. We'll be back to check on you. Take care. Good luck, or whatever people say.
I ain't
And
showing back
shut
up.
that door. Because,
Yep.
girl, it wasn't going to turn out good for her.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't going to turn out good for her.
Mm-mm.
And I'm like, so that's the least believable part for me. I'm like, why are we dragging in this woman? And like, are you out of your mind? Like, seriously? Because, yeah, so that was it. And then I will say that I do appreciate the fact that they took her out quick. Because
Yeah.
once she got up, you're like, oh, great. Now she's going to cause a mess. She's going to bite somebody else. We got another storyline we got to deal with, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh, no. It was like, "Bleh," and they were like, and we just dealt with that. And then it
Hmm.
was like moving on. And I
Moving
was
on
like,
to the next one.
right, and I liked that. I was kind of like, oh, good, because I really was like, why is she in here in the first place? Because
I
like I said, put in that
don't.
jail cell they had those
Yes.
guys in or something.
So that I would agree is probably my least believable part of the movie, and also my least favorite part of the movie was them just wheeling her in, because I'm like, this is not like, they're just stupidity. Now, to that, my favorite part of the movie was when Ving Rhames' character, Sergeant Kenneth Hall, big dude, he was like military man. He was trying to go after his
Hmm.
brother, and they were like, "No, don't. He's probably not alive." He's like, "My brother."
I got to get to Fort Pastor.
Yeah, I got to get to Fort Pastor. So when him and the gun shop owner Andy from across the parking lot, um they would play like chess, but then
Hmm.
they would play, well, Andy would be the sniper, and they would write down like descriptions of like Hollywood people that they looked like,
Right.
and then
Burt
they'd be like,
Reynolds.
he'd, yeah, Burt Reynolds, and then they'd hold the sign up and he would know exactly who they were looking at, and he'd take them out. That was probably one of, because how else are you going to pass the time, really? I mean, and at that point, I'm here for it. I would have had fun with that.
Well, that is true because I did ask myself, how would I have kept myself busy? And I think in something like that, I would have gone to Suncoast because that was still around,
Mm.
and I would have purchased movies and I would have watched movies because I'm sure some department store had a setup, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't
And the
know.
Best Buy guy was there. Michael could help you set it all up.
Right, right. So that's probably what, I think I would have been much more leaning into when I wasn't worried about, you know, running for my life.
Hmm.
So, with all of that being said, there is a huge cast of characters. Like, so
Yeah,
not every
big.
scary movie is going to have all these characters that come together. I want to know, who are your likes or your dislikes. We've established that we want to choke Nicole to death.
Yeah. She could just.
So we've established that. Who's your favorite?
My favorite character was either Anna or Andy before he got bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Andy was just living his best life.
Right.
Like, he
So
was like,
you,
I'm here, I got all these weapons.
so after he was bit, you didn't like him anymore.
Well, no, I just felt bad after that point. I was like, why Andy? Like, why not Nicole? Why not that bitch? Because she made it back.
Right. Um, I think that that's a fantastic part. My favorite character, believe it or not, is Chips,
Yeah,
because it's
well,
not his fault that Nicole's a
hands
crazy
down.
bitch. I mean, it's not his fault that like she was controlling and obsessive, and
Mm,
I
and
mean,
a
he was
psycho.
he was stuck with her. And yeah, Michael was a really cool character. Even after he got bit, he was pretty cool, I thought, because he was just going to watch the sunrise. And he took
Yeah.
himself out, which, I could see at that part, you're like, I really don't want to be a walking zombie. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to end this here and we're going to call
Yeah.
it a day. So
Respect for him. That I would probably do the same thing.
that's
Um,
tough. That's a
I
tough
was
call.
sad because Michael and Anna kind of starting like a little bit of a, I mean, she had just lost her husband, but what are you going to do in an apocalypse? Yeah. Oh, she did have Ladywood for him. The fact that he works at Best Buy and sells TVs at Best Buy did not, in no way did that throw her off. She was like, hey.
Now, did we go over, or I guess we already went over who we hated, who I hated? Did I talk about who I hated the most?
No, not yet. That's what I was about to ask.
I hated.
Other than Nicole, she's hands down, everybody hates her.
Yeah, that's a strong word, though. I feel very like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if there was anybody that I was gonna like wanting to like sort of like punch in the throat, I can't think of anybody that I really hated. I mean, certainly CJ was an asshole, but it's just kind of his nature, right? But like Steve, he was like, with him being a creep and totally cringe, it's like, but you know what? I also didn't like Andre and Luda. Those two got on my
Okay.
nerves. She's like, I have to have baby. I have to get to the hospital to have baby. And
Baby
I was
little
just
girl.
like, darling, I'm like, you know what?
Little girl.
Things are not going to be I mean, like things are not going to be looking good coming here soon. And like, so that was pretty crazy. And then like when she had to squirt all that like blood out of when she's
Mm-hmm.
having the baby, I'm going, oh no, did we really need to see all that? And yeah, we
Yeah,
sure
that's
did.
now I will say also about CJ, he started off as my one of my least favorites, but he did have a character. So there was some character development there because he actually ended up sacrificing himself to help those people get out. Like he was like
Oh.
somebody has to blow this up, and so he stuck around to do that. So he had, he went from being like just a total dick to being like, okay, you can kind of, you kind of redeemed yourself just in the scope of
No,
maybe you're
you
not like
did.
a terrible human being. So I'll be thankful that you gave yourself so I could get away, as opposed to, God, he deserved it because, there was a couple people who deserved it. And with Andre and Luda, what pissed me off about that was Andre knew she was bit. And instead of saying something to people, he just like, what did he think was the baby was going to come out as? Did he think the baby wasn't going to like,
Maybe he thought that it would come out like an alien and be like singing and dancing like in Spaceballs.
hello, my
Like,
baby, hello, my darling, hello, my ragtime gal? I just, he pissed me off. She was trying to get into the hospital, but bitch, you can't go into the hospital. We keep trying to tell you we stuck in this mall. Like, we're stuck here.
yeah, but there's a lot of people that are really delusional, especially like, I mean, think about that. And so, but he's all like, "You're doing great, baby. You're doing good." She's like,
Right? She's barely even
and
breathing. What are you
he's like,
doing?
real good, real good. I'm like going, "Oh, mama, it's over."
He gonna
Like,
put
you know
the
what I'm
bite
saying?
thing in her
Like,
mouth.
and then so I want to know how you feel about the payoff at the very, very end. So we sit through the credits. We see bits and pieces of douchebag's camcorder, and we stop on an island in which all of a sudden zombies come running out of the island, and it's just like,
Right. See,
so we did all of this,
for
and
nothing.
nobody made it out. Like
Right.
that becomes a bit of a kick in the pants, if you ask me.
But it makes me wonder, how did it get there? You know what I'm saying? Because if it was like a contagion and they're on an island and nobody's out there, then how did it even get there to begin? Like that, you would think in zombie movies, right? There's always supposed to be one safe place that people can get to, right? So, and usually sometimes that's like an island somewhere. And so you would think that there would have been just, because then they could have continued it. I feel like they could have had a second one
Oh,
or
they can always have a
something,
second one.
you
There's always
know.
a way to make a second one.
But there's but will they do it like 28 days and 28 days later, and or 28 days later, 28 months later, and then you know what I'm saying? Because the next one's coming up soon, and that's exciting for me.
Well, how about
Um,
this? How about I make a date with you to watch the first one, the
yes,
second one,
yes.
and then we go see the third one.
Yeah, and then we can talk about that because they all very like they follow a good the first and second ones tie in together really well. And so I personally like it, but then, you know, again, it was the sadness of that part of the movie. Like it ended and there's no hope for them because they show up at this island and nobody's there except for zombies. They come rushing out of the woodwork. And then it's like you said, all this work for nothing.
Right.
What's the
I'm like,
point?
I felt robbed. I'm like, I thought somebody was going to survive because it is kind of nice when you have
Right.
one or two survivors because you think hope, even though it's lies.
Right.
Because, like, if you watch a Rob Zombie film, when you get to part two, everybody's life is torn apart. And it was like, oh, that's a little bit
Everybody's.
more accurate, but
Yep.
it's not happy. But that's the
Mm-mm.
great thing. Rob Zombie's never conformed to make other people comfortable. So when it comes to Dawn of the Dead, what do you give it?
On my scale, probably a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's one of those ones that's up there for me. What about you?
Oh, God, I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm dead
It
serious. I love it. I mean, all across the board. Like that's me. But see, here's the problem: is I'm so Paula Abdul about this. Like I'm, in like American Idol, she loved everything. Like that's kind of how I feel about the situation. I'm like, I liked everything about it. I thought it was really, really great. There's other movies like, and I would say the same thing about a few other movies as well. But I mean, I could pick apart things that didn't. But I honestly, 10 out of 10, man, big time.
I could, you know, I could see, yeah. I can I can change up my rating because you are correct in that. And
Oh,
even
so
in
you
the
was holding
parts that
out.
are
That's what you was doing. You
yeah,
was
I
holding
was
out
holding
because you were
out because I
like,
wasn't sure how you was gonna feel about it. I should have just been honest about it because it is one of my again, I love like I love zombie movies, not the
right.
slow burning ones. The high octane ones are always the ones that get me. So you're right, 10 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it if anybody hasn't seen it. And if they have seen it, I'd say rewatch it and pay attention to the little details because they're always the fun shit. You know, it's like, oh, I didn't notice that at first. Like there was a couple things you and I were when we were watching it, we were like, oh shit, I didn't notice that the first time I watched it. Or
Yeah, I mean, I think that I am that way with every film though, like especially with like the evolution of the different versions of it, such as you get the DVD, the Blu-ray, and then now we're venturing into some 4Ks. I'm
mm-hmm.
trying not to make a habit out of it because it's a waste of money, but because I don't need a movie to sit in my lap. But there is something to be said about a nice,
Yeah, physical copies, you always
yeah.
have them.
Well, but there's something really nice to be said about a 4K movie that's like, it just hits a little different. I think it's a gazebo.
I don't think so. I think that's somewhere we sit under for shade.
No, yes, no, that's my shout out to it, chapter one.
Love it.
Okay, awesome. And two quick fun facts. Fun fact, the mall was in Toronto and was getting ready to be torn down. And that makes me sad because that mall
Mm-hmm.
has been torn down. And Sam Raimi is the county sheriff that's on TV, who's
That's
talking
fun.
about the dead people. And I gotta say, I did catch that first time out when I was in the theater. I was like, ah, that's Sam Raimi. I know that face. So,
Mm-hmm.
so so those are two fun facts about that film.
I love it when producers or directors put themselves into the movie, even in like the smallest part.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. It's bitchin'.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I love
fun.
to like, oh my god, look, there he is. He's usually behind the camera.
Well, awesome possum, Stephanie. I had a blast chit-chatting about the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. That was an old movie, but I think it has aged like fine wine. Well, thank you everybody for chiming in and listening to Steffi and I gab about scary films.
Thanks,
Remember that
guys.
thing I talked about earlier where I said the follow, subscribe? Yeah, you know what? Like I said, no one's getting rich or famous, so click it.
Yep, click it, like, subscribe, put it in the bag.
All right, see you next time, y'all.
Bye, guys.